tells us how God feels about lying. It tells us punishment for lying. And it tells us what we should do. Stop lying, right? And today there's no doubt that this whole sermon is going to talk about lying. And I'm not going to lie, it's probably going to step on some toes. How's that? Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to treat you unfairly. I'm going to treat you justly. How's that? So I don't mean to step on toes, I step on my own toes as we do. Let me start off with this little story about a mom who actually caught her son lying. This little boy was just lying. And it infuriated his mom. And he said, son, come here. She said, you can't be lying. Because you know what happens to little boys who lie? This big man with horns in his head and one eye right in the middle comes and sweeps them up and takes them to the moon where they are stuck for the rest of their life sifting ashes. Now don't be telling any more lies. It's bad. And the little boy, of course, his eyes were so big and he said, Mom, he said, that was a whopper. Sometimes we lie to our children or in front of our children. We don't think they realize it. But kids are smart and they're watching us, right? They are watching us. But lying is almost a way of culture, isn't it? Do you realize that? It's so common that sometimes we don't even know we're lying and we lie. Right? Right? It's true. It's true. Sometimes we don't even mean to be. We just going through life and we just start telling a story and all of a sudden we're embellishing and it's just like we're just making stuff up. Right? It's going on and on. I'm already stepping on toes. I can see you. I'm sorry. But let me get back to the point. The American, the book, The Day America Told the Truth. Let me give you some facts out there. It said 91% of the people surveyed said they lied about things they deemed trivial or unimportant. 91%. 36% of those people lied about things they thought were important. 86% lied regularly to their parents. 75% lied regularly to their friends. 73% lied regularly to their siblings. And 69, the best, people who get lied to the least, 69%, only 69% lied to their spouses. Wow, that's a whole lot of lying going on, isn't it? That's a whole lot of lying going on. That's like 69%. They lie. Those are the people they like. Those are the people they care about. What about me and you? What if they just meet us as strangers? Do we lie? How many of us have ever told a lie before? Some of you are lying right now. No. Maybe not intentionally, but most folks, not everybody, I can't say everybody, most folks I believe have told some kind of lie somewhere in their life, maybe as a child, maybe doing business, maybe you just embellished a story, maybe it was a little white lie. Those don't hurt, right? Those are okay. White lies are okay. Maybe it was a big fib. I don't know. But there are all kinds of lies, and they seem to have taken over our society. They seem to have become a way of culture, and it's all right to be dishonest.
Your Washington and politicians do it all the time.
That's a whole different sermon. I can't even get into that. That would take up way too much time when we start talking about politicians and the whoppers they tell. Those aren't little white lies. But we're gonna save that for another day. But yes, indeed, it's become a way of life, and we just accept it. Oh, it's just a little lie. What did they mean anything? I think we're all guilty of lying to some extent. And some of us don't really truthfully realize that we're lying. Maybe we don't know the definition of what lying is. I looked it up, so I wanted to share it with you. And this is what it says. It says, because I want to get this right. I don't usually read, but it says, the definition of lying is marked or containing falsehoods. To make an untrue statement with an intent to deceive or to create a false or misleading impression. Now I ask you, how many of y'all have lied? You see, it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? It's easy to fall into lying. Even if it's just a small fib. I mean, it could be as easy as using one word that means two things to mislead somebody. That's a lie. There's all kinds of lies. But let's look at a couple of the kinds of lies that are prominent in our society that we use a lot. The first one I want to talk about is slander. Now, slander is intentionally telling a lie to hurt someone's reputation or to hurt someone is to slander somebody. To intentionally lie about something. Now, I can't weigh sin, which one does the most harm, but I sit there and think that if I stole something from you, if I came and took your TV, which is a sin, I can always bring your TV back, right? I can undo that. But if I tell a story on you, I can't take that. Even if I tell people, I was just kidding, just joking, I can't undo the damage of those words once they've started down that trail. You can't pull them back. You need to be very careful how you choose your words and how we talk about people. Right? Before we go down that aisle, because you can't undo it. You can't undo the damage that's done by slander. Maybe you've been slandered. Maybe you know what that feels like. It's not a good feeling. Not at all. Slander's first cousin's name is gossip. Maybe some of y'all know him. Now, gossip is just someone who likes to share news. Right? The problem with gossip is they really don't care if the facts are right or they're wrong. They just like to tell the story. Right? They just want to be the person in the know that can go and tell the next person, who can tell the next person. Now, have you ever played that telephone game where you start a message on one side and you tell the same story and it goes all around, it looks nothing like what started over here? That's the problem with gossip. When you start with gossip and it doesn't have the facts, it doesn't know it has some of the facts, but all the facts. By the time it gets over here, it has none of the facts, except the person's name, right? So you can see the damage that gossiping can do, right? That's the problem with gossip, is most of the time they don't know or don't care. They just want to be the one who spread the story. It reminds me of the lady by the name of Mildred, who was the morals police of the church, so to speak, and she was a gossip. And she liked to tell those stories, and she would, most people in church didn't approve of her telling those stories, but they were afraid to cross her because then the next story would probably be about them, so they're kind of afraid of her. But she kind of met her match one day when a new member of the church, she started talking about and started spreading words about him being an alcoholic because his truck was parked all afternoon in front of a local bar. And he approached her about it, and she said, well, what did you think people would think if you park your car in front of a bar? There's only one conclusion, is that you've been drinking all afternoon. I just said what everybody else was thinking. And the man didn't defend himself, didn't deny it, he just simply walked away. And that night, about 12 o'clock, he pulled his truck up in front of Mildred's house and left it there. You gotta be careful who you lie about, don't you? We all want to know, be in the know, we all want to know what's going on and thing. I can remember as a kid, I used to hang out in the hallway and my parents would be talking, and I'd be like, listening as hard as I could, eavesdropping, trying to find out the skinny, because I wanted to be that kid in the know. I'm just letting you know. And I usually would hear a few things, but with my limited knowledge of the adult world, I usually got it wrong when I went to tell them. See, that's the problem with gossip, is that we usually know a little bit, but we don't know the whole story. And when we go to tell it, we usually get it wrong, because we don't know all the facts. So the best thing to do when it comes to gossip, and I don't mean to sit on this a long time, but ignore it. Stop it. Don't listen to it. Why would you let your ears be a trash can for anybody who wants to pour garbage in? Stop it. Don't participate. If you don't know it to be true, don't spread it. It sounds easy enough, doesn't it? Because when you're gossiping and you tell a falsehood on somebody, guess what? That's a lie. Pretty simple. That's a lie. No excusing it. No little lie. That's a lie. Because I want you to remember this. If you're listening to someone and they're gossiping to you, if they're gossiping to you, they will gossip about you when you're not there. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. If they're sitting there talking about somebody else, but you're not in the room, you could very well be the one they're talking about. So remember that. Gossip. It's a no-no. It's not on the list. Next one is lying by insinuation. That's when we say something that's true, but we insinuate something different. It's like if I said, man, this is a great Sunday, and good to be in church. And you know, even Brother Billy was sober today. Now, if I said that, everything I said was true. It's a great day. It's good to be in church. And Billy is sober as far as I know. Billy is sober. All that was true, right? But what I insinuated was that Billy usually isn't sober, right? So that's lying by insinuation. We don't want to participate in that. And Billy, I just picked your name out of a hat. I'm glad you're a good sport. I'm glad you're a good sport about it. Trust me, it has nothing to do with Billy. What about flattery? You know, flattery is that praise that we give people. We say something to their face we normally wouldn't say behind the back. In other words, we're just making stuff up. We're buttering them up, right? You ever been flattered? Who's good at flattering people? Salesmen, people who want something, right? Kids. Kids are really good at flattering people, right? Dad, you've been working out. What? See, Mom, your hair, would you do something different? It looks so good. When you hear statements like that, beware of the next things to come out of your mouth. Because that means they usually want something, right? They're buttering you up, and if you're not careful, they're going to eat you for lunch, is what they're going to do. So you need to be careful. Flattery is lie. Because you're making something up. You're telling them what? Untruth. It's a deception, right? Anybody here ever flattered somebody? Seriously? Y'all some unflattery people. Half-truths. What about half-truths? That's kind of like not telling the whole story. I know some of y'all as teenagers probably did this, right? I'm going to Andy's house, and then we're leaving. You forget that part. I'm going over to Andy's house. His parents will be home. Oh, yeah. But then, that's true. It's a half-truth. So what I'm not saying is that what I'm really going to do is go over to Andy's house. I'm going to pick him up, and we're leaving, and we're going over to these girls' house. Right? That's a half-truth. I didn't actually lie to you. I just didn't tell you the whole story. Right? Is that a lie?
Yes.
Sure it is. That's a half-truth. Half-truths are lies. That's it. What about exaggerations? All you fishermen out there. You ever told this story? And I caught a fish this big. He was really big. When you know darn well he was this size right here. But you have to justify spending that whole day on the boat, so it became this big, right? I gave it away. I gave it to feed the homeless because I didn't want to bring the whole thing home. I brought these 2 fish sticks home, and that's all we're going to eat tonight. Preachers are good at that too. Let's see, we got 123 people here today. Very good. Very good. Exaggerating those numbers, right? Any of you ever exaggerated like that? Maybe stretched the truth a little bit. Maybe embellished the story a little bit, right? Because it sounds better, right? If I embellish it a little bit. Catching a fish like that don't sound good. Catching a fish like this and fighting for 4 hours, oh my word. Or I know you've all heard this. And I walked uphill barefoot in the snow both ways to school. How many of you heard that story? How many of you have told that story? Right? Exaggeration a little bit. You think they just tune out when you say that? It happens. It happens. You know, we have all kinds of lies. Right? Excuses. What are excuses? Excuses are just lies we tell ourselves to make us feel better about what we didn't get done or what we didn't accomplish. Right? There's all kinds of ways to tell the truth. And we have to be careful what people are telling us and what we're hearing. You know, some of us go fishing for compliments. So we fall victim of flattery, right? How's this look on me? Right? Reminds me of the story of the woman who looked in the mirror, or the elderly woman looked in the mirror one day and said, honey, I can't hardly even stand to look in the mirror. He said, my hair's getting gray, I got wrinkles under my eyes, and starting to get, my arms are flabby, my legs are fat. I can't hardly even stand to look at myself. Tell me something good about myself. He said, you have wonderful eyesight. The funeral is next Thursday. But you know, we have to be careful when we go fishing, right? We set ourselves up to be lied to. But we also have to be careful about lying. Because God doesn't say the little lies are okay. Because we all lie, right? A little bit. Sometimes it's necessary because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? But you don't want me to tell the truth, do you? That's just not real convenient to tell the truth at this point in time. It's just going to get me in trouble. The truth can wait till later, right? And we all get caught in those traps sometimes, right? Where telling the truth is not real convenient. Sometimes it's in business, right? Everyday life, you walk out there and there's going to be opportunities that present themselves where things just, it's not real convenient to tell the truth. And sometimes it's just easier to lie about it than to tell the truth. You know, Billy mentioned politicians. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. Advertisement. You know, they lie to you every day. You can look like this. If you put this cream on your face, you're going to look just like this. I doubt it. You can look a little poor because you bought that cream. You know, they lie to us all the time. Everywhere you look, lie. In business, people lie. If they'll get you, I'm going to tell you what, there's some whoppers told in a business deal. They better make the deal if they can get away with it. I reminded the manager overheard his clerk out there saying, no, ma'am, we don't have any of it. And it doesn't look like we're going to get any for a while. And the manager was appalled, and he ran out there and said, ma'am, we don't have it, but it's on order. And it'll probably be probably within the week. And he pulled the clerk aside and said, now, what are we talking about? And the clerk said, rain. You know, sometimes you come into the wrong end of the conversation, you don't even know what you're lying about. Right? We have to be careful. We have to avoid that trap. We can't be one of those people. You know, if I ask you today, are you considered trustworthy? You know, what would your friends describe you as that? Are you a truth teller, no matter what? When it's convenient, when it's not convenient, it doesn't really matter. Do you tell the truth? Is your word your bond? Do you do what you say you're going to do? If you say you're going to be there on Saturday, do you show up on Saturday? Or do you maybe just tell the white lies? Small. We call them fibs because it sounds better. It's just a little fib. It won't hurt nobody. You know, checks in the mail. Oh, I can't come help you today. I'm not feeling well. I'm actually feeling well and not part. Just mixed up my words. Can we tell those little lies? You see, lying and being truthful are very important. God sees them as being important. God sees them as something you should do all the time, not just when it's convenient. And I want you to know, I put this to the test this week. Pam was getting ready for a conference she had to go speak at, and she asked me about several outfits. And I was perfectly honest with her. Even when it wasn't easy, even when it wasn't convenient. You know, but she was seeking the truth. She was trusting me to tell her, that doesn't look good. That doesn't go together. That's too busy. That's too whatever. She wanted my opinion a truthful opinion, right? And I gave it to her. And she went through several outfits and found something very nice to wear. But what I'm saying is, if I had lied to her, and she had gone out in public, then those gossipers would have been saying, did you see what Pam wore? Wasn't that something? That didn't match. Who dressed her? I don't know. I think she's colorblind. I don't know. But, you know, they had been in full swing, right? But we have to tell the truth even when it hurts sometimes. We need to be tactful. We don't need to be hurtful. We don't need to be vengeful when we tell people the truth, but we need to be truthful. And we need to be truthful with ourselves. You see, God knows something that we need to know. That when you lie in a relationship, you're damaging that relationship. I don't care if it's with your friends. I don't care if it's with your parents. I don't care if it's with your children. I don't care. You erode that trust. Trust is the key to the recipe of a great relationship. You have to be able to trust your spouse. You should be able to trust your children. You should be able to trust your friends. But if I come to you and I lie, and it's something little, and then I lie again, and I lie again, just a bunch of little ones, how do I know when you're going to stop lying and when you're going to tell me the truth? How do I know? How would you know? When you're evaluating your friendships, when you're evaluating your relationships. If someone lied to you all the time, is that someone you're going to go to for counsel? To seek the truth? I don't think so. I know I wouldn't. I would hope you would have enough sense not to. We should seek out truth seekers, people who give the truth. We should treat everybody truthfully. And not to damage them, not to hurt them, not to say, you're a terrible singer. Don't sing. But there are easier ways to say it. I can remember, and I think I've shared the story before, we had a split-level church, the last church I was at. We put sound in the basement. And the first, so the people keeping the nursery could hear the message. And after the first Sunday we had that, the lady came up, she goes, man, I really enjoyed your message. That was a great message. It was so nice to be able to sit down there and keep the children, but also hear your message. What a blessing. She said, but one thing, Pastor. I said, what's that? She said, you might want to consider cutting your mic off when we're singing. And I was like, okay. I can't sing, I know it. You don't have to tell me. But she wasn't trying to be mean. But what she was saying was that my mic overpowered everybody else, everything else over here singing. That's all really you're going to sing, and I don't sing well. I'm sure it's not a joyful noise to everybody. I'm just trying to make a joyful noise to her. But she wasn't trying to be hurtful. She was being honest, right? And sometimes honesty is hard to take. You know, some people don't want to hear the truth, but they need to hear it. The other thing we need to do is quit lying to ourselves. That's probably the greatest injustice we do. How oftentimes do we listen to the devil, we lie to ourselves, we tell ourselves we're not good enough. You're just not good enough. And you start to believe the lies. Or God doesn't care about that. And God doesn't really care about you. God doesn't care if you tell that lie. Go ahead, tell it. He don't care if you do that. How many times do we justify our own sin by telling ourselves the lie? God doesn't care. It's just a little lie. Or I'll just ask for forgiveness later. I know it's bad, but just this once I'm going to do it, and then I'll get some forgiveness later, and we're going to be all good. You know, how many times do we do that? We believe those lies. How many times do we lie to ourselves? How sad is that? How sad is that for our relationships that we have to lie to each other? The spouse, 69% lie to their spouse. And that's the best number. How sad is that? We have become a lying society and it needs to stop. God detests liars. He doesn't kind of dislike them. He's not a little unhappy. He's not a little perturbed. He detests them. And in some translations it reads an abomination. Lying is an abomination. before God. It's serious. It's not a white lie. There is no white lie. That's just something, that's one of those things we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel good, because it's just no white lie. There is no white lie. A lie is a lie. An untruth is an untruth. And the truth, as inconvenient as it may be at times, is still the truth. It's an important lesson to learn. You see, it's important not just for you. We have kids back here. Hopefully one day we'll have more kids in here. Kids copy what they see. They truly do. And if they know you to be a liar, what do you think they will become? Moms and dads, grandparents, friends of the family, church members, because they watch you all. We need to be truthful. We need to be a truthful people in a lying world. It's very clear in the Bible. It tells you what to do. It tells you in Ephesians, therefore each of you must put off lying, falsehood. You must put off lying and speak truthfully to your neighbor. You know, if you want to know about me, come ask me. Don't take somebody else's word for it. The Bible tells you that, doesn't it? If you have a problem with somebody, go seek them out and talk to them about it. When we deal with people, we need to deal with them truthfully, because in essence, we want to be treated with or spoken to truthfully, right? I don't want you to lie to me. If you hate my sermons, I didn't get anything out of it. Okay, I can respect that. I have to work harder next time. But don't go to sleep during the sermon and come up to me after and say, "Ah, it's good." I was like, "Good nap." That's what it was. You know, it's okay. You know, I can take the truth. Don't always like it, but I can take it. Right? We need to be truthful. We need to seek God and be truthful, because that's what God desires of us. That's what He wants for us. What's the other part of that? He delights in people who are trustworthy. Wouldn't you like to delight God? I like to be alive. We need to seek out God, because He is the one truth. And He brought us the one truth through Jesus Christ. And that truth will set you free. It truly will. It truly will. And all God's people said.